talk to you about imposter syndrome and share with you what I learned along the way. I know I'm always sharing something that I should have learned 20 years ago with you. So now that I'm learning it, I'm sharing it. So I thought about imposter syndrome. So I woke up, thinking about imposter syndrome. As you can see, my shorts and my uploads today is about imposter syndrome. So I wanted to talk to you about imposter syndrome and where I discovered it started at. I originally was working on imposter syndrome and saying I'm enough and figuring out and uprooting all the negativity around that, right? So I'm figuring it was from, right? From, when I started to work and I was working in an industry, male dominant industry, and I was thinking about it. I heard other people say that, those things can be contributors and you can be coding and doing all those things. And I thought about it and I was like, I was in a male dominated industry. And when I found that what they were saying wasn't appropriate for me, I was able to go out on my own and do what I wanted to do in the same industry, in my own office. So I created an opportunity to be on my own. But as I thought it through, it wasn't because it was a male dominated industry. And I didn't leave because of that person. I left because I knew I could do this and I could make a great business of it. So it wasn't because I felt like I wasn't good enough. I felt like I was more than enough for his company and I needed to do it myself. So when I did leave, I felt good and I formed a company that was highly successful in a very challenged, disadvantaged area, two areas actually. And I did it because I knew I could do it and I can pass that knowledge on to others. So, as I look back over that, I didn't have imposter syndrome in that issue. Didn't have it in any other time, even working for the last employers I worked for 4 years in a nonprofit organization with my knowledge and understanding of real estate that they didn't use, but that was besides the point. um, I found that imposter syndrome for me started with one sentence, and it was back when I was young, back when I was a little child, and I was being abused in a certain area in a cellar. And I was really young, really young. I didn't tell or share anything about that abuse until I was about 12. And so when I did try to share as a child, I was maybe 6 or 7. And I was saying, oh, I don't want to go in the basement. I don't want to bring this down there. I don't let somebody else do it, And my mother said to me, oh, stop it and suck it up and just go and bring this down there and come back. When I did, of course, I was abused. I was molested yet again. And when I came upstairs, finally, my mom said to me, what took you so long? Thought you didn't like being down there. And I was like, those statements alone are the reasons why. What I believed was that I was a liar. My mom called me a liar. Oh, you just lied just to not go down there. So that statement, see, you lied. I knew she would never believe me. That's when I knew I wasn't enough. It wasn't because I was in a male-dominated industry. It wasn't because I was in an organization that didn't appreciate me. Wasn't those. Not at all. Not at all. So it wasn't any of those things. It was brought back to me, and today about that. So I'm going to relate this to neuroscience, something I found out. According to research in the neuroscience, our brains are wired to prioritize immediate rewards over long-term benefits. This means when we often choose the quick and easy solution, even if the results may be negative consequences down the road. In addition, the brain's profound cortex, responsible for controlling impulses and making long-term decisions, is not fully developed until our mid-20s. So think about that when we think about and have grace on ourselves, to have grace on our children and our grandchildren, because that immediate gratification, it X's out long-term consequences, okay? So when we are adults now, we're thinking long-term, but our child that we don't heal inside of us, our little Edna, is not healed. Well, our little Edna starts kicking against the pricks, starts kicking against things, and starts trying to find immediate gratification. So what happens? We find immediate gratification in probably procrastination, because hey, it could take too much work, so I'm not going to do it. So we're going to be procrastinating against the things and goals that we want to do. Or we take an alternative and we go and we work with somebody else so that they can do the work and we don't have to do the work. Or we, go shopping, right? Or we go and eat, right? Or we go and take a drug, right? Instant gratification. Or we take a drink, right? Instant gratification over long-term consequences. So have grace on yourself when you're healing from this imposter syndrome, because that's the true killer. That's the true thief. That's the true destroyer. Is in the mind. It's not out there. It's the big devil. It's the little devil on the inside. Ego, the mind. It's the small d, not the big one. Okay? So make sure that you're having grace in yourself when you're healing from this imposter syndrome. It's possible. It's really possible. But you have to put the time in. You have to put that work in. You have to just, say, I'm thankful for learning this. I'm thankful for figuring this out, because if I didn't, I wouldn't be where I am. So work on your self-awareness. Stop spending so much time on other people, telling them about their problem, trying to make them right. You make sure you're right so that they can go by example, not telling them what you're doing and not doing it yourself. Imposter syndrome is just that. To me, doing stuff that you telling other people to do, you're not doing. That's what I would say. But it's what everyone is believing it to be, because we talk about it a lot, is that you don't think you're worthy. Well, now you know why you do it. And now you can understand how you can move forward in your dreams and desires and your goals and actually your own life. You create it. You get the opportunity to create it. You're the one that put the guidelines in place. So you're the one to do that. And I want you to start working on your self-awareness. If you do nothing else, be very self-aware of what you do. Don't worry about what anybody else does. Worry about what you do. And I promise you, you'll be much better. Put the time in and inner work. That's the key to mostly every syndrome you know about, is putting the time in. Talk to you later.